In association with NASCOM, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, My Startup TV brings the Tech Next show. Join us on the 1st and 15th of every month for inspiring stories, news and views. Each episode will feature a young, innovative and dynamic company. Tech Next show will be broadcasted on NASCOM Hyderabad's YouTube channel. You can watch the program live on our Android app and across social media, or you can simply log on to www.mystartuptv.in.
Welcome viewers to My Startup TV. I am your host Aishwarya. NASCOM AP and Telangana, in association with My Startup TV, brings you the special show that showcases inspiring stories, news and views. The show is broadcasted on the 1st and 15th of every month. The program is broadcasted live on My Startup TV's Android app, available on Google Play Store. This episode is on educational technology. Top headlines for today are: NASCOM hosts the 6th edition of InnoTrek virtually this year. NASCOM and IBM partner to make India's youth future ready. NASCOM COE and Third Eye AI collaborate to leverage cutting-edge AI technology. Before I proceed with today's news, I request our viewers to take necessary precautions as the battle against COVID-19 is not over yet. Always wear a mask, wash your hands frequently, step out if needed and maintain social distancing. Remember, this is the time we fight the virus together. Now the news in detail are: the National Association of Software and Services Companies is hosting the 6th edition of NASCOM InnoTrek virtually for the year 2021. The program will offer 11 Indian deep tech software as a service startups to learn and network with accomplished global investors, partners and disruptors from the US. As a part of IBM's Skill Build Career Readiness Program, IBM and NASCOM Foundation worked with 23 colleges across Karnataka, Telangana and Delhi NCR to certify enrolled students on IBM certified courses on emerging technologies. About 5,000 under-reserved youth are now skilled in data science and cloud computing, with over 2,000 of them placed in jobs. NASCOM Center of Excellence and Third Eye AI Limited join hands as innovation partners to meet the challenges and critical technology gaps in the country in artificial intelligence and Industry 4.0 domains. Third Eye AI is a group company of Indian conglomerate Jai Bharat Maruti Limited. According to NASCOM, India's share in the global engineering and research and development market is expected to grow at a compound annual growth rate of 12 to 13% to reach $63 billion by 2025. That's all for today.
Next, we have a founder talk on education technology.
Welcome viewers to My Startup TV. NASCOM AP and Telangana, in association with My Startup TV, brings you the Tech Next show that showcases inspiring stories, news, views. This show is broadcasted on 1st and 15th of every month. Today on Tech Next show, we have with us PV Shashank Poturi, who's the CEO of Kondura EduTech and Training Services. Kondira Online is an edutech platform that helps students crack any entrance exams, aptitude tests for securing jobs using machine learning and algorithms. Welcome, Shashank. Welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Major Sunil. Obviously, you know, it feels good to be able to share our story, because at the end of the day, entrepreneurs, the only thing that we are fighting for is eventually being able to create impact. And yes, shows of your nature will help take us, kind of amplify the impact that we are able to create.
Well, happy to hear that we are able to impact as a channel. We are able to, help create a visibility. So let's start by understanding what is Kondura into. What is Kondura all about?
Fantastic. I think we are working on one of the most burning problems today, that of the skills gap between the student community where they are today and what the industry expects them to be. So our target market has been essentially students who are currently in college and recent graduates, and trying to understand where is it that they are falling short of where the industry wants them to be. And to narrow the skills gap, we have been pioneering a model, what we call as digital internships. Yes, we use machine learning, we use artificial intelligence in order to be able to provide a better experience to the student. But the core offering that we provide is a 4-week program that we call as digital internship, that we believe has the potential to create 2.5 lakh strong graduate employable student pool. That's what we are working towards at Conira.
We know that edutech is the buzzword, and it is the one of the fastest growing segment or sector. Why should a student come to your platform vis-a-vis others which are out there? How are you different?
I think that's a very, very valid question. The employability space is not a small space. We are seeing close to around 4 crore students sitting in our higher education classrooms, with 1.5 crore of them graduating every year. There are multiple models that are trying to work on this problem of skills gap. We have finishing schools, we have your Coursera's and other big MOOCs. The place where we see ourselves different is that in our model, we are having a steady supply of students coming in from our colleges, and post that having an opportunity to pick up the basic skills and subsequently also work along with companies. When I speak about some of the major MOOCs, they do have a lot of training programs, but the industry connect is missing. When I look at some of the finishing schools, they only, they have this whole filtration process where they identify the top 2% of the students and eventually polish them to, get into pay packages of 20 lakhs, 25 lakhs, 30 lakhs. And we are not even doing what Internshala does, listing of internships. In our scenario, we are actually providing a platform where the company and the student can engage online, thereby producing, allowing us to produce a huge number of employable graduates. Why do I say this? I spoke about digital internships. Let us put some numbers to this. If I'm looking at, let us say, hiring 4 people into my digital internship funnel, I generally end up taking around 100 kids, almost in a 1:25 ratio. Because this 4-week process acts like a funnel. Week 1, the 100 students are being given some resources, learning resources, and then some assignments. After week 1, probably the top 70 will move forward. The joy comes in the fact that we are also able to provide 46 more candidates, an opportunity to learn, engage with a company, and add value to their resume as well as to their skill set. So that, I think, is what is really interesting about this digital internship model in its ability to amplify the kind of impact that we are creating.
What we see is that you also have 3 different packages for students to engage with you. How are they different? As in, do the students engage with you for a certain duration of time, just the 4 weeks and done with it? Or if they take your package, does the engagement of learning with you kind of expand for the whole year?
Digital internships that keep coming up on the platform. Like right now, for example, we are working along with HISIA, the Hyderabad Software Exporters Association, through which we are running an internship fair where we are seeing around 70 odd internships being listed for the months of July and August. So when we are looking at the student, taking up, coming onto our platform, we provide them with 3 packages, as you rightly mentioned. One is a free package that allows them to browse through some of the learning modules of job prep and also apply to one digital internship on the platform. The paid packages give them access to the platform for 6 months and for 12 months. So during the 6-month time, they get access to all the job prep modules, including preparation for various national level exams like PCS and QT or any of the employment tests that are happening. And in addition to that, they also get access to unlimited number of internships during that period. However, obviously, a student can't at the same time take up multiple internships because there's also a requirement in terms of spending time. So in a 6-month period, we would ideally want our student to be able to take a part in maybe 2 to 3 digital internships.
Coming finally towards the end, My Startup TV is a channel for startups and entrepreneurs like you. What are your thoughts about the channel?
startups, while they provide a fantastic learning opportunity, at the end of the day involve a lot of risk. So to be able to, have a platform where startup entrepreneurs can speak about their travails, be it both the positives and the negatives, will certainly allow the next generation of, entrepreneurs to probably learn from somebody else's mistakes rather than having to commit the mistakes on their own and learn from them. So I think this is a very ambitious effort to build the next generation of entrepreneurs. And I think that is definitely a need of the hour to be able to stand up on our own feet. It's absolutely commendable. But at the same time, entrepreneurship is not for everyone. In the sense, it requires certain amount of grit, perseverance, hard work, etc., etc. So through your channel, if you can ensure that you're showcasing both the sides of the story, not just the positives, the glamour part of it, because we have enough platforms to showcase about the multi-million fundraisers and the eventual winner stories. But it's not the winners that we always can learn from. It's also the people who are in the battle, the people who are fighting it out to create impact, to create organizations. And I think that will probably be a very 360-degree portrayal of what entrepreneurship really means.
Thank you, Shashank. Thank you very much for joining us, and we look forward to hosting you on other shows. Thank you.
Absolutely. It has been a pleasure, Major Sunil. Thank you for having me over here. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to speak about the kind of work that we are doing at Colira.
Thank you.
Coming up next is a feature on how EdTech is going to be the future of education.
EdTech, the future of education. Welcome viewers to My Startup TV. I am your host Aishwarya. I'm back with another episode of What's the Trend. We all know that education in our country is evolving day by day. Education is now not just about academics but also includes several extracurricular activities. Accelerated by the increasing number of smartphone users and with a shift towards digital learning modes, we can expect the EdTech industry in India to reach $30 billion in the coming decade. The EdTech sector was already witnessing huge developments, but due to the lockdown, this sector has seen exponential growth. India is among the top 3 countries after China and the US to get the most venture capital funding in the EdTech sector. In the year 2020, the EdTech industry received close to $16 billion in venture capital funding, which is 32 times more than the funding amount received in 2010. The Indian EdTech sector was previously dominated by the K-12 segment and is now witnessing strong growth in the post-K-12 segment. Let us now have a look at the growth trends in the education sector in India. Numerous e-learning platforms are now available where students can get access to quality education at an affordable price. The Government of India has also come up with initiatives for online education through schemes like Swayam and Diksha. The government is also encouraging higher educational institutes to switch to online methods of education due to the pandemic. Presently, there are around 7,000 EdTech startups in India that are leveraging technology to offer the best educational services. Due to these factors and an increasing number of investments and acquisitions in the EdTech sector, the digital learning movement in the country is growing exponentially. We can say that the growth in the EdTech sector is going to be driven by K-12, higher education, test preparation and upskilling. With more EdTech adoption and a different outlook for education in the post-COVID world, the sector can see massive growth and achieve bigger numbers. That's all for today. Thanks for watching.
Next on our show, we have a panel talk on the future of EdTech and will it have the same value once the lockdown ends.
Welcome back, viewers, to this evening talk. It is on future of edutech. We've seen edutech platforms have made it easier to access education. These are inexpensive, they reduce travel time and make it possible for students from across the globe to probably attend one single class or the same class. And how has this helped? How has the lockdown helped? To discuss with me, the three eminent guests are from the EduTech platform and from the academic sector. My first guest is Shashank Poturi, who is the CEO of Kundera Education and Training Services. My second guest is Satish Chandra, Director of Industry Relation from Sri Vishnu Educational Society. And my third guest is Shamil Sharma, COO of ACS Corporation. Welcome, gentlemen. Welcome to the show. So let's start by understanding how does the future look like when it comes to education? What we are seeing, experiencing now, is this going to be there? Is there? How do you see the disruption continue? Do you see that in coming time we're going to be having more of a hybrid model emerging when it comes to education and technology? Satish?
See, definitely see what kind of change that this pandemic brought in the education is probably would have happened over a decade of time in India at least. But due to pandemic, you have the students on their own or the parents on their own exploring all the digital learning possibilities on one side, and educational institutions. I mean, this is the first sector which sort of came to standstill, right? So the moment the lockdown was announced, the education institutions were stopped, and every institution you take a school which is in government sector to a corporate school, they were finding their own ways and methods to find a solution to reach their students or the audience. So that way, I mean, there are a lot of solutions that are found which are sort of jugaad, or they have taken depending on the kind of money that each institution could spend or each parent could spend, they found their own solutions which can be made, be Khan Academy, for free videos, to going to Byju's or several prep platforms in K-12 domain. When it comes to I come from engineering and higher education domain, so there is a lot of content that is made available because of the MOOC movement, right? So you have these globally recognized universities creating a lot of content, and that is put out there. Now that content has got its really, I would say, utilization, because many of the large platforms like Coursera and edX last year completely they have opened their platform for free. So that sort of gave the experience of digital learning, how it happens to the Indian student. Okay, in the higher education space, especially in engineering, and of course the test prep. If you touch upon, I mean, see, that is again because of the lockdown. If you take any test prep, for example, from IIT JEE to GATE preparation to, for example, preparing for GRE, all these, there are, every city has a place where students come and they take hostels and study there. So now this sort of created a new path. I mean, we found various startups which are sort of becoming unicorns over a period of 6 months of time because of I would say thanks this is because of this pandemic. Otherwise they would not have so quickly found their space in the minds of students. And this what is this creating? It is democratizing the learning opportunity for the students. Those are my initial comments.
Great. So Sashank, a lot of Satish brought up a lot of points here. you are into the space where you train people, you make them ready, the students, you make them ready for jobs, you make them ready, you prepare them for competitive exams. What kind of trend are you observing? Was it better, or was the where they were? Have you seen that lockdown has brought in more number of students going towards online? And do you think, with your experience, will it stay? Will it stay there?
Uh, Generally, when we speak about students who are, let's say, in their higher education, typically students, as Satish rightly pointed out, people who are in their final year of graduation, they pass on certain advice to their juniors. Now, this is where you can go for this kind of service. This is where, this is what you can do to be able to reach here. There's a lot of informal systems that exist, informal mentorship systems, which kind of guide the next set of students who are coming in. Okay, we can call them as influencers. Now, when pandemic struck, when it was a year-long scenario, there was still a chance that the habits that are being formed here could probably be going back. But when it's now stretching beyond 1 year, beyond 2 years, in fact, now that we are speaking about a third wave again still coming up, the kind of mentorship frameworks that exist have kind of internalized the new, the new normal as the basic scenario, and kind of passing that on to their subsequent, people who come into that life. So we are definitely seeing habits that are being formed, which would most likely continue to stay here. Having said that, online is not easy. You were speaking about an example of your daughter picking up a guitar app. In that same app, there would have which would have most likely had 1 million installs. You would notice that less than probably 15% of them eventually complete that entire course. Satish was speaking about Coursera, which has a 4% completion rate. But that is where the newer challenges lie. When we are today speaking about bringing technology along with education, I think the key metric here would have to be defined in terms of outcomes. Yesterday, there was an article that came up on Ken, which spoke about the vanity metrics in edtech industry. I have so many downloads. My average time spent on the website is so much, falana, tikana, etc., etc. For you as a parent, you are most likely to be concerned about, has my daughter learned guitar? For every activity that we do, there is a defined outcome. If I am in the employability space, and in fact we happen to work with the Sri Vishnu group, they are going to hold us accountable in terms of not how much have I really been able to take the students through, to what extent, etc. At the end of the day, what should define success is eventually outcomes.
Shamil, as a company, when you're going to be hiring talent, how would you look at a student who's, probably gone through most of his, who has come through a learning model which is online?
That's a very good question, Major Sunil. I mean, as a company, if you see how things have really evolved, and going back to what my, colleagues have said, a short while ago, long time ago, certifications and training was all about come to a classroom, come into a training room, and you're trained over there. Of course, as time has evolved, as technology has got much more easier access to people, and as broadband connections have really become better, what you realize is that companies need to get away from this age-old mindset of come to the classroom, get certified. Come in front of me face to face, let's talk about it, then I will certify you. Or that's the only time when you will learn. And it's right that the COVID crisis has really helped organizations really, speed forward in terms of the learning and development and the capability agenda. I look at the entire training piece, and I'm sorry, I'm digressing a bit, but I look at the entire training piece in like two basic sections. One is for freshers who are either getting into college, out of college, the training around that. And second is people who are already working in organizations. People who are working in organizations, trainings are primarily of two types. One is self-driven, what they want to learn, what they want to upskill, what they want to be in the future. The second is an organization mandate. And in both these cases, the hybrid model, as you mentioned, of in classroom face-to-face versus online is definitely the road ahead. Let's move to what Shashank was talking about, people getting fresh out of college. The point is, up till now, people who are getting out of college had to go for personal coaching to really understand as to what they can do in terms of excelling themselves. If I had to go for an interview for a top tier brand, I would have to find somebody in the industry who's already gone through an interview, has been there for quite some time, and go ahead and ask that person for feedback. But with this entire education tech sector, what we really have is for all these people now, there's such a plethora of options that are available. I mean, they can not only upgrade their technical skills online, they can go and go through attitude assessments, psychometric assessments, they can go through interview skill workshops, they can go through coding assessments, which has now become such a mandatory task when we are recruiting people, because you cannot really have volumes and volumes of interview panels sitting over there. So a lot of companies are now looking at coding assessments where people have to code a given task, and that helps in the shortlist process. Again, if you add certain software aspects to it, how to manage your career, what to expect in a corporate job, leadership skills, performance valuations, how to manage that, I think you get a real complete package. So I think from education and technology, there is still a long way to go. Okay, but the companies have started on the right foot. And to your point, as an organization, would I differ between somebody who has done a certification online versus done a certification face-to-face? Maybe for certain roles, it may come into play, but largely it's all dependent on what you really know. And honestly, in an interview or assessment or a skills test, if you're able to prove that you have the knowledge, it doesn't matter how you really learned at the end of it. It's the same thing about long time back, correspondence courses versus going to a college. Obviously, going to a college give you a better branding at the end of it. But if you're doing a correspondence course and you can still prove that you have the same amount of knowledge that a person going to college does, why would an organization really differentiate?
So there is a change. Even the organization are ready with the change of mindset in terms of ready to accept if somebody didn't have a formal degree or a qualification. Satish, that puts institutions like yours in a fix, isn't it? I mean, now the very concept of education will be probably in some ways challenged. So where does it leave institutions who are offering formal education when they have to compete with the likes of the Byju's or other platforms which are online?
Uh, I mean, it's a very good ask from you. However, see, we are talking about a lot of disruptions happening in every industry, right? So education hasn't had big disruption as yet. And so if you look at the NAP guidelines that have come, that opens up even more opportunities for us to be worried if we stagnate where we were earlier. So obviously the education as a whole, the institutions have to innovate and offer better value to this customer who's the student who's joining us, how we are delivering value to them. Student comes to education institution for two reasons. One is what we deliver as the teaching content and the whole ecosystem. We are developing a personality, not the technology course or a certification. It's a whole personality that gets groomed in 4 years span of time that they spend with us. They make contacts or networks for lifetime. I mean, the friends that are made in the higher education, they live with you for whole of your life, right? So there are a lot of things. I mean, the whole, of course, pandemic has stopped everything. However, we are talking about everybody coming back to the institution, physically experiencing the education. So I mean, so on technology side, obviously we have to innovate. We have to have better labs physically being available. It's not just the tech that we teach to the student. There are many other, you have to also groom students in humanities areas. How can they build, how can they write well, how can they think better? All these things, they can be done online. However, if they are done in a physical setting, I think the results are much better.
So, Shamil, again, that's very valid point. It's education institution is not about just acquiring some skill. It is also there's so many other things, the soft skills. building a network. You make friends for lifetime. Now, as an organization, when you're going to be looking at students who, you also make a very valid point. One is for the beginners, probably who's starting off, and some who are either upgrading themselves, or looking for moving from one sector to other sector. For them, the online education makes a lot of sense. Uh, as an organization, uh, apart from hiring freshers, when it comes to internally hiring, or scaling up your own staff, does education platforms or edtech platforms play a key role in your decision making, while promoting people? If within your organization somebody was to go through, acquire a skill or acquire a certification through online.
Yeah, definitely. See what happens, the major is that for any employees working in an organization, there is a roadmap that is generally prepared. And the roadmap can be of two ways. One is the fact that you are at a level A today and you want to follow this particular framework and this particular job family. And in 7 years, you're going to be at a level B. And this is what you're going to do in between. Okay, the second is you don't want to follow this job family, you want to move into a different job family. So again, this is A, B, C, D, E things that you have to do if you want to move in there. Now, these are trainings which are regulated, mandated. People have said, listen, it is in your best interest. This is what you got to do if you're going to move to that level. But there is a secondary part which says, listen, you have to also continue to upskill and reskill yourself. I mean, your skills and technology is going to get outdated as fast as, even the year changes. And at this particular point of time, when an employee wants to really upgrade their skills, they have to work with their managers and the training department to really understand what is it that they need to be working upon. Two kind of inputs typically will come in. One from their own line manager, who will say, listen, you've got to work on A, B, and C, because this is going to really skill you better to be ready for the technology advances of the future. And the second could be inputs from the L&D team saying, listen, we have ABC platforms again, which are available. And if you want to train, so you have to put this whole thing together. And when you actually start putting the whole thing together and an employee is showing the commitment, the employee is being aggressive in terms of his learning, what they're doing is they're actually building up their skills. And at this point of time, if an employee is doing all those steps, then an organization has to put its entire weight behind the behind the employee, and help them really move to the levels that they really want to. Never in a training session does it happen that, take the training and then go and relax and sit about it. You have to really close the loop by ensuring that there are mentors in your entire network who are gauging whether the concerned employee has really learned what they're stating to have learned. There have to be informal tests and assessments and a whole lot of things that need to happen to really understand whether have they really learned, or it's only a certificate which really has no value, which is equal to any certificate that we may do. If you go for a training and you're sitting with the video off and doing something on the side, and at the end of it, the certification exam, and you're chatting with somebody and saying, hey, these questions are coming, you tell me on my WhatsApp what the answers, and I'm going to add the answers. I think even from an edtech perspective, the amount of regulations required, the amount of security required, the amount of scrutiny required is extremely, extremely high. So for an organization, if somebody does a course from XYZ and I know that the security protocols are not that strong, and I can make out in the interview that this guy doesn't have his fundamentals correct, obviously they can do whatever courses they want, where at the end of it, it's just a stamp that they're looking for, which doesn't really help. So I feel that, the whole thing is evolving. I'm glad it is evolving. Face-to-face is always better. I'm not taking that away at all. Face-to-face definitely is better. But you know what? Are you sure that COVID is going to be okay next year? Are you sure COVID is going to be okay in 2023? The world can't stop. Activities can't stop. Life has to go on. Organizations have to continue recruiting and building skills. The only option available today is remote, and that's what best. But you know what? For people like Shashank, who building these applications, I think if you can really get head on with building social groups along with it, you have a real winner. I mean, look at all the applications out there, whether it's Coursera, Udemy, Skillsoft, LinkedIn Learning, they're training platforms. Where are the social groups? So if I'm learning .NET, or if I want to go and join TCS, can I enter a social group and get answers to all my questions? I think that's going to be the game changer, because today nobody's really thinking about that.
Yeah.
So Shashank, Shamil brought a lot of key points. One is, how do you ensure that you keep in, as an organization, how do you keep in step with the changing technologies, the emerging technologies, because you also have to keep developing it. And also the last and most important part is, the credibility of the certification. How do you ensure that?
I think it's absolutely valid what Shamil has said. a certificate is only valuable as much as the paper that it's printed upon, till the candidate is able to actually justify that kind of certification and the learning that he has acquired through that certification. There's absolutely no denying that part. But this is the place where I think newer models need to come in. Training, powerhouses cannot be built like Netflix. Today Netflix invests billions of dollars into creating content. No one single organization today is capable of creating high quality content across a huge set of training areas. Even if I were to take the fresher industry, there itself, somebody might want to get into Java, somebody might else, want to get into databases, somebody else might want to get into something else. And I cannot be the organization which is putting the thappa that this guy is good at Java. And that is the where, the social groups, for example, can we use those social groups, or can we use the engagement between the companies and the students to create this kind of profiles for students which are trustworthily shareable? That I think is the key that a lot of us are trying to eventually solve. Asset heavy organizations cannot really sustain because it requires too much of budgets, too much of operations, and probably will kill the agility. And that's where newer models need to come up, and we need to be able to identify what is that right thing which ensures that the student learning is certified in a reliable manner in an asset-like model. That's at least the way I look at the industry kind of evolving.
Thank you. Well, gentlemen, that's all time we have for today. Thank you very much for joining in, and we hope to see you again in our future shows. Thank you very much.
We have over 400 startups and MSME shows on our TV channel. Do check out. My Startup TV is now available on Google Play Store, so you can get all the latest news on startups and MSMEs on the move. You can also support us by subscribing to our TV channel, and do not forget to press the bell icon. You can follow us on Koo, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, or visit our website www.mystartuptv.in.